In any relationship, whether romantic or otherwise, the connection between partners can sometimes begin to shift, and the bond that once felt strong may start to feel distant. This can be especially true when subtle changes occur over time, often unnoticed until they begin to accumulate into larger issues. The signs that a relationship is losing its spark are not always obvious at first. They tend to manifest in small, often overlooked behaviors that, if left unaddressed, can create serious emotional rifts. Partners may begin to drift apart without even realizing it, as the dynamics between them slowly change in ways that feel almost natural, but are, in reality, symptoms of deeper disconnection. One of the most significant signs that a relationship is losing its vitality is a lack of communication. Initially, when two people are in love, they share everything: their hopes, their frustrations, and even their mundane daily experiences. However, over time, if conversations become less frequent or meaningful, it indicates a shift in the emotional investment between the partners. Without open and honest communication, misunderstandings and unresolved issues can build up, leading to emotional distance. Another crucial element that often suffers in a relationship losing its spark is physical affection. Early on, couples are often physically affectionate, whether it's holding hands, hugging, or simply sitting close. These small gestures of touch not only strengthen emotional bonds, but also help partners feel loved and valued. When these expressions of affection begin to disappear or become routine, it can be a sign that one or both partners are no longer emotionally engaged in the relationship. Along with this physical distance, there's often a decline in the amount of quality time spent together. Life gets busy, with work, personal obligations, and other distractions. But the time partners invest in each other is crucial for maintaining a strong relationship. When this time starts to decrease or becomes focused on distractions rather than meaningful interaction, it can signal a growing sense of disconnection. Partners may begin to feel more like roommates than lovers, simply coexisting rather than sharing life experiences together. Frequent arguments can also be a telling sign that things aren't as they once were. Healthy relationships may encounter disagreements, but when arguments become frequent and escalate over small matters, it can reflect deeper emotional frustration. These constant conflicts often occur when the underlying issues in the relationship are not addressed, leading to unresolved tension and bitterness. Emotional distance is another red flag. When one or both partners begin to withdraw emotionally, it can feel as though the intimacy between them is fading. If partners stop being open with one another, cease offering emotional support, or become less vulnerable, it can create an invisible wall between them. Emotional intimacy is a key component of any strong relationship, and its loss can leave individuals feeling isolated, even when they're physically close. Moreover, a lack of future planning together is often an indication that the relationship is no longer moving forward. In the early stages, couples often make plans for the future, whether it's vacations, long-term goals, or even discussing bigger commitments like marriage or children. When these conversations stop and one or both partners avoid making future plans, it suggests uncertainty about the relationship's long-term potential. When one or both partners begin to take each other for granted, it often leads to feelings of neglect and frustration. Appreciation and gratitude are essential in a healthy relationship, but when these expressions start to diminish, the emotional bond weakens. Simple acts of acknowledgement, like saying thank you or showing appreciation for the other person's efforts, go a long way in keeping the connection strong. Similarly, if partners start to lose interest in each other's lives, it is another sign that the emotional spark is fading. A lack of curiosity about each other's daily experiences or future goals can create a sense of detachment, as though the partners are no longer invested in each other's personal growth or happiness. Recognizing these signs early is important because it allows couples to address the issues before they become insurmountable. Relationships require ongoing effort, understanding, and nurturing, and when things start to feel off, It's a signal that both partners need to re-engage and reignite the emotional connection that brought them together in the first place. Lack of communication. When communication starts to dwindle in a relationship, it's a clear sign that the connection between partners is weakening. Initially, conversations might be frequent and filled with excitement, but over time, if one or both partners stop sharing their thoughts, feelings, and daily experiences, it can create a gap. This doesn't just refer to major topics. Even small, everyday conversations begin to fade. For example, a couple that once talked about their day may now find themselves sitting in silence or only texting briefly. A lack of communication often leads to misunderstandings and feelings of neglect, as partners stop feeling emotionally connected or supported. Without open and regular communication, the emotional bond that once existed starts to erode, leading to further disconnection. Avoiding physical affection. When physical affection becomes less frequent or starts to feel forced, it's often a sign that something deeper is amiss in the relationship. Physical touch, whether it's holding hands, hugging, or simply sitting close, plays an important role in maintaining emotional closeness. Over time, if a partner avoids these gestures, it may indicate they're no longer emotionally invested, or that there's tension between the two. For example, a partner who once eagerly greeted you with a hug may now seem indifferent or distant. This avoidance can make both individuals feel isolated and unsupported, leading to further feelings of loneliness. Physical affection is a way of showing care and connection, and its absence can significantly affect the relationship's warmth and intimacy. 3. Less quality time. Together. As relationships evolve, it's easy for partners to get caught up in their individual lives, work, and personal commitments. But when spending quality time together becomes rare, it can signal that the bond is weakening. Quality time doesn't mean just being in the same room, but rather sharing meaningful moments, conversations, and experiences. If one partner is constantly busy or distracted, it can make the other feel unimportant or undervalued. For instance, a couple who once enjoyed regular date nights or weekend outings may find themselves barely speaking beyond daily necessities. This shift away from intentional, focused time together can create a sense of distance and disconnect, as both partners start to feel more like roommates than a couple. Frequent arguments. Frequent arguments can often be a sign that the relationship is losing its harmony and emotional connection. When a couple starts arguing more regularly, it may indicate that unresolved issues are building up, or that both partners are feeling frustrated and unheard. These arguments might start over small things, but they can quickly escalate, often because of deeper, unspoken emotions. For example, what once was a simple disagreement about household chores may turn into a heated argument about respect or priorities. If the arguments start to feel repetitive, or if one partner becomes defensive or disengaged during discussions, it can be a sign that both individuals are struggling to communicate effectively and that the emotional bond is deteriorating. Frequent arguments may eventually make both partners feel drained and disconnected, further weakening the relationship. 5. Emotional distance. Emotional distance occurs when partners stop sharing their feelings, concerns, or thoughts with each other. This growing gap can often be felt when one or both individuals become less open, retreating into their own worlds instead of confiding in each other. For example, a partner who once shared their day, frustrations, or hopes might suddenly become withdrawn or indifferent. This emotional disconnect can make the other person feel ignored or unimportant, which leads to feelings of loneliness within the relationship. The lack of emotional intimacy can also result in partners becoming more distant over time, causing the bond to feel fragile. Without emotional closeness, the relationship can begin to feel more like a routine or obligation, rather than a meaningful connection. 6. No future planning. When partners stop discussing future plans or goals together, it often signals that the relationship is no longer a priority. Initially, couples tend to make plans for vacations, moving in together, or discussing long-term aspirations like marriage or children. However, if these types of conversations start to fade, it can indicate a lack of commitment or uncertainty about the future of the relationship. For instance, one partner may hesitate or avoid talking about future plans, such as vacations or settling down, and this can create a sense of insecurity. Without envisioning a shared future, both individuals may start feeling that they are growing apart rather than building a life together. This lack of future planning can leave the relationship stagnant, making both people question where they stand with each other. 7. Indifference to each other's needs. When partners start showing indifference to each other's emotional, physical, or practical needs, it can indicate that the connection is fading. In healthy relationships, both people are attentive and responsive to the needs of their partner, whether it's through acts of kindness, support during tough times, or simply checking in on each other. However, when one partner becomes uninterested in what the other needs or desires, it creates a sense of neglect. For example, if one partner is going through a stressful period and the other doesn't acknowledge it or offer support, it shows a lack of care. This indifference can also manifest in physical needs, like not making an effort to spend quality time together or being dismissive of the other person's feelings. Over time, this emotional detachment erodes the trust and intimacy in the relationship, leaving both individuals feeling unimportant and unsupported. 8. Loss of intimacy. The loss of intimacy in a relationship is a powerful indicator that something is changing between partners. Intimacy isn't just about physical closeness, but also emotional vulnerability and connection. When intimacy fades, couples may stop sharing their deepest feelings, desires, or fears with one another. This can result in partners feeling emotionally disconnected or like strangers, even when they're together. For example, a couple that once shared their dreams or concerns openly may start to keep things to themselves, no longer feeling the desire to connect on a deeper level. This loss of intimacy often reflects a broader emotional distance, where both individuals no longer feel safe, valued, or understood by each other. Without intimacy, the relationship may begin to feel more like a companionship or routine than a deeply connected partnership. Taking each other for granted. When partners start taking each other for granted, it's a sign that the relationship is losing its sense of appreciation and respect. In the beginning, couples are often mindful of each other's efforts, showing gratitude for small gestures or acts of kindness. However, over time, if one or both partners stop acknowledging each other's contributions, it can lead to feelings of neglect and resentment. For instance, one partner might stop saying thank you for help around the house or for emotional support, assuming the other will always be there without needing recognition. This lack of appreciation can cause both people to feel undervalued, leading to frustration and emotional detachment. When taking each other for granted becomes a pattern, the relationship may begin to feel less like a partnership and more like a routine or obligation. Decreased interest in each other's lives. When there is a noticeable decrease in interest in each other's lives, it's a clear sign that the emotional connection in the relationship is fading. Initially, partners are eager to learn about each other's day, experiences, and feelings. They share excitement over personal achievements, challenges, or even simple events. However, if one partner starts showing indifference toward the other's experiences or stops asking about their day, it signals emotional disengagement. For example, one partner may no longer inquire about the other's work or personal goals, and instead, conversations become shallow or routine. This lack of curiosity about each other's lives can make both partners feel isolated, as though their lives are no longer intertwined. Over time, this can lead to a sense of being strangers in a relationship, further distancing the couple.